What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Locked On NFL Insider Report. I'm Daniela Bruce, joined by our NFL Insider, Isaiah Stanback, on one of the biggest Sundays in the NFL. It was Championship Sunday today, and man, we have been blessed with some great playoff football so far, Isaiah.
Yeah, no, it's been absolutely ridiculous. I know this is what everybody hopes for every single season when it comes to playoff time, but unfortunately, that's not always the case. But luckily, this year, the football gods have blessed everybody, and you've seen this weekend has been jam-packed and full of great games.
Yeah, let's start talking about that NFC Championship game. Matt Stafford in the Los Angeles Rams and Jimmy Garoppolo in the San Francisco 49ers. This one, it was a big game for both of them. These teams don't like each other. They wanted to get to the Super Bowl, and the Rams have lost six straight to the 49ers. So this was definitely a big one for them. And they went down 10 at one point in this game, Isaiah. Obviously made the comeback. What'd you see from the Rams? What switch flipped for them?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. The Rams seemingly didn't have anything going. Matthew Stafford seemed to have his velocity wasn't on point, his accuracy wasn't there. They had a lot of missed opportunities in terms of drop balls and overthrown balls. Tyler Higbee went down. So they had a lot of things going against them. Obviously, the San Francisco 49ers, everybody knows what their identity is. They're going to come in, ground and pound you, beat you up at the line of scrimmage. And they seemingly, for the most part, had that under control. Until the Rams started catching a little bit of fire. They had a couple of drives where they went out there and put some points on the board. And then as you approach towards the end of the game, their big dogs stepped up and made plays. They were able to shut down the running game on the interior defensive line. They weren't allowing Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell to get those big plays on the ground like they typically like to. And then they had forced Jimmy Garoppolo now in that position to have to throw themselves into a victory. And unfortunately, they weren't unable to do that. There's a guy by the name of Aaron Donald who just happens to want to win a Super Bowl ring, kind of the best player in the NFL. He decided to take over, and that was that.
Yeah, we're going to get to Aaron Donald, but I want to start with Matt Stafford, and that might
Yeah.
be selfishly. I'm a Detroit girl, so one year ago today, when the big trade happened between the Lions and the Rams, I can tell you this: it's a divide. It's a very big divide, actually, here in Detroit of
Yeah.
whether you root for Matt Stafford or not. I am Team Matt Stafford all the way. I am so excited
Nice.
for him to be in the Super Bowl, and he said at the beginning of all of this, right after the trade, that he wanted to play in big games, and boy, he gets to play in the biggest one of the season.
Yeah, they went all in when they made this trade for Matthew Stafford. They obviously traded away Jared Goff. They did a clean swap on that, but they also gave up 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick. So a lot of people were shocked. A lot of people were amazed as to why they would give up so much draft equity. But this is the exact reason why. They got their man. They have Matthew Stafford. He's running this team. He's put them in a position to be successful. Obviously, won today's ball game and now has opportunity to go out there and take care of business in the ultimate game, the Super Bowl, which he has not had in his career. I'm sorry about that. I know, D.
I said it on Twitter too. I was tearing up a little bit watching him in his post game interview. He's headed to the Super Bowl, and it was mostly happy tears. But the 1% was like, "Oh, what could have been?" What
Yeah,
could have
yeah.
been. But it's good for him. It's great. And you mentioned that the Rams went all in this year. Matt Stafford wasn't the only addition that they made. They picked up OBJ, and then they also added Von Miller to a defense that was already pretty lethal. So, what did you see from those guys, and how big were those additions?
Well, OBJ absolutely came in and he's been playing well. Obviously, the last 6 or 7 games of the season. As you look at his stats today, he had 9 for 113 yards. That is dominant. You pair that up with Cooper Kupp's ability to have 11 for 142 and 2 touchdowns. It makes it really difficult for defenses to stop these guys. Obviously, they lost their tight end today, but the other tight end stepped up in the form of Kendall Blandon. He did a great job and filled in that role. So these guys were able to get a running game going, and then once they got that ground game going, you have those receivers out there. It makes it really difficult to stop these guys.
And of course, Aaron Donald, who you did mention earlier, he got fired up on the sidelines too. He was not usually that outspoken, but he had to send a message to his team because he wants that Super Bowl ring, Isaiah.
Yeah, Aaron Donald's been doing a great job, obviously, in this league for a very long time now. MVP after defensive MVP. He's touted as the best player in the NFL, next to maybe Tom Brady. But he's probably the most dominant guy, and this is what he wants. He wants the opportunity to go win the Super Bowl. They don't come around that often. So when you see somebody who's as soft-spoken and a guy who just brings his lunch pail to work every single day and just wants to go out there and lead his team, when he actually speaks up, guys listen. And you saw that towards the end of the game, how he pulled his team aside and said, "Hey, fellas, fellas, we got to get this thing going because I'm not missing this opportunity with this roster when we know we can't retain everybody. We just mentioned how they went all chips all in. Von Miller, OBJ, Odell Beckham. These guys don't have a first round pick until 2024. So this is the time. The time is now, and they have to take full advantage of it. You saw him show up towards the end of the game. Him and Von Miller were having a party over there in the back of the quarterback's pocket, and he ended the game with a big old strip sack. They did a great job there. Obviously, it sealed their victory.
Isaiah, the Rams definitely do need to take advantage of this situation because they won't have forever with all of these guys, as you mentioned. And the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be their opponent in Super Bowl 56. How do they defeat the Bengals and become the Super Bowl champions?
I think much like what they did tonight. I think find some way to stop the ground game. Joe Mixon's been doing a great job. He's kind of been the unsung hero for the Cincinnati Bengals, keeping that thing consistent, taking a lot of pressure off the quarterback Burrow. But if they are able to stop that run game with gains on the inside with Von Miller and obviously Aaron Donald, then they have to take things to the air. Obviously, Joe Burrow's a really very capable quarterback, but his main guy, his big-time dog, is who? Obviously, Jamar Chase on the outside. And then the Rams have a cornerback who just happens to be the best cornerback in the league in Jalen Ramsey. And I'm looking forward to seeing that matchup. You have a very dominant young receiver versus a savvy veteran who's shut down. One of the few shutdown corners this NFL has left. It's going to be very interesting to see exactly how that matchup goes down.
So you told us how you think the Rams can do it, but do you think they are going to do it? Who's your Super Bowl pick, Isaiah?
I can't imagine a roster this stacked not taking full advantage and winning the Super Bowl. So I'm going to have to go, being that I'm a West Coast guy, I'm going to have to go with the Rams on this one.
Isaiah, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And of course, thank you all for tuning in to another Locked On Now Insider Report. We'll see you next time.